You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump and his wife, Melania Trump, both have tested positive for COVID-19. It was about 17 hours ago when this tweet was sent out confirming the diagnosis. Tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We'll begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together, but there's been a lot of things that have been happening since that particular announcement. First of all, we now know that it was Hope Hicks who tested positive for coronavirus. That came down yesterday, but Donald Trump still went to a fundraiser at his mansion in New Jersey. The folks who were there did not know about this positive test. Then they came forward with this. What also happened is we now know that a number of people have also been testing positive. First of all, the GOP chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, she was at the Supreme Court announcement in the Rose Garden on Saturday. She has tested positive. Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who was also at that particular event, he has tested positive. The White House also has sent a statement out showing that several White House reporters, they have also tested positive for coronavirus right now. And then, of course, we saw the information that went out where the White House was announced that Donald Trump had been given a particular treatment, not hydrochloroquine. He had been given a particular treatment. Then the announcement came out that he is going to be going to Walter Reed, they say, for evaluation. Lots of speculation going on. Here's what is happening right now. Again, Marine One is sitting on the White House lawn waiting to take Donald Trump to Walter Reed. This right here is a live shot from the Periscope feed of ABC News. That's what this particular shot here is. And so again, Marine One has been sitting there on the lawn for at least the last 45 minutes waiting to take Donald Trump to Walter Reed Medical Center, which of course is the preferred destination where the president gets treated. Folks, this is absolutely stunning and shocking news. We do have a variety of guests, medical experts. Folks, let me know when we have those folks on. Right now, I want to bring on my panel. Rob Richardson, host Disruption Now podcast. Quentin Young is host of Poppin' Politics podcast. Folks, let me know when we have Dr. Ebony Hilton and the other guest on. This is a huge story. We're going to get to the unemployment folks later. Not a huge story here. Rob, this is again. Here's a guy who has been completely ignoring coronavirus, refused to put on a mask, mocks Joe Biden at a debate on Tuesday. did not require masks to be worn at the White House, would tell reporters in the White House, take your mask off so I can hear you, and then when one reporter said, no, I prefer to leave it on, then he would just shrug and shirk. Then tried to say that Dr. Anthony Fauci agreed with him when it came to mask wearing on Tuesday's debate. Fauci came up the next day saying that was not the case. And now Trump is positive with coronavirus. First Lady, positive with coronavirus. Hope Hicks, positive with coronavirus. Other Republicans, positive with coronavirus. He now gets a treatment, now is being taken to Walter Reed. I think he might now realize COVID-19 is real.
Well, you would hope he does now. You know, I'll just say this, Roland. Really, three thoughts went through my mind. The first thought, I mean, and I hate that I even thought this was, is this true?
Here we go. Sorry, 1 second here. Go back to my iPad, folks. So clearly Donald Trump is now walking out. They are shielding us from seeing what he looks like and wearing. And again, this is the ABC News feed. You see the Marine right there. He's already saluting. On the far right, you see the White House photographer taking photos there. We can't see. Normally, when the president goes out to Marine One, normally what they do is you have White House reporters who are assembled. Cameras are there live. They have prevented the media from being able to show live from there. I don't see who those folks are on the left-hand side. If that's the pool report, we don't know. We cannot see if Donald Trump has a hazmat suit on, if he has on a mask, a face shield. We don't see any of that because the White House is blocking that view. We can see right now, because they changed the shot, the Marine who stands at attention, Marine One, has now moved out of the way, which means that Donald Trump is now on Marine One. And just in a few seconds, we're going to see the helicopter blades start whirring, and then you're going to see them take off. The fact, Rob, that they have not been really forthcoming with information. Kayleigh McEnany, when she came out earlier, did not spend lots of time talking to the media. It was about 4 minutes or so. Mark Meadows, he spent talking to the media. Now you see Marine One is about to start up in a second, and then in a moment you're going to see liftoff. The fact that they are flying him to Marine One as opposed to driving him to Walter Reed, again, this White House, I can't trust anything that they say. This, Rob, is serious.
No, I completely agree. I mean, but going to my first thought, you know, I didn't believe anything initially because it's just hard to know because there's so much misinformation, direct lies. But then I went to the second point to think that this is not something that he would want to fake, I don't think, because he wants to be in front of crowds. And then you see and then we have a lot of information that's confirmed it. The third thought that came to my head was a hopeful one. I hope people understand that this is real. I hope they will take precautions. As you said earlier, the president was encouraging people not to wear a mask as late as the debate, one day before he tested positive, right? He's telling people, no, we don't need to wear a mask everywhere. We don't need to be that. Like, this is serious. Listen to the scientists. Listen to the people that have been saying this. This is how viruses spread pretty simply. Once you get around other people, they come. So what I hope people realize, Roland, is that we are all connected. Just like Dr. Martin Luther King said, it's not an isolated thing. We are connected. We're connected more than we ever have been. If we ignore these things, it hurts all of us.
Let's go. First of all, Dr. Ebony Hilton. She is on the line right now. Dr. Hilton, she, of course, is an anesthesiologist, University of Virginia. We've had her on the show for months now talking about this whole issue of coronavirus. When you see this here, when you see the president, again, now being flown to Walter Reed, look, Ebony, I hope his folks, the anti-mask people, the folks who've been sitting here trying to rally and blast the people, now realize your boy got it.
Yeah. And, you know, it's unfortunate to me. I want to start off this conversation by saying we should never wish ill on someone, because I do believe that we should wish the very best for all. But it is unfortunate that it will take most times for things to land on your doorstep before some people take it seriously. And this comes at the tail of 210,000 Americans have already lost their lives to this.
As you're talking, Marine One is now lifting off from the White House on his way to Walter Reed Medical Center. Dr. Ebony, keep going.
Yeah, this is a very surreal image right here, and it's unfortunate because it's one of those things that we could have prevented. We're seeing these cases increase daily of people being diagnosed with COVID-19. There's not only the old and not only the sick, it's children as well. And like I said, we crossed as a nation 210,000 people that we know have died from COVID-19. And by the end of December, we're expecting another 200,000 Americans to have died from COVID-19. This is real. And I think in this moment, we should take a note that the president has the absolute best healthcare that is available. He has stringent testing protocols where anyone that's going to be around him is screened to see if they have any signs and symptoms of COVID-19. They're literally tested to make sure they don't have COVID-19. And yet he and his wife are both now infected. And he is so sick to the point that he needs to be flown out to get medical care at Walter Reed.
Now let's speak to that. You have been on the front lines dealing with this, battling with this here, as people have been trying to deal with this here. And you've had to treat people. You've seen it there. You've been in the ICU. You're an anesthesiologist. And so here's what we know. They announced that he had mild symptoms. Mm-hmm. They said low-grade fever, cough, things along those lines. Then all of a sudden, he got this particular treatment. Can you explain what that treatment was?
Right. So for one, it's unfortunate, but we don't know exactly if his symptoms were mild or what he has, right? This administration has been feeding lies to the public for so long and downplaying this virus that we can't trust what's being said. But what we have been at least told is that he had mild symptoms for COVID-19. And it was just now released by his physician that he was treated with Regeneron, which is a monoclonal antibody. It's a cocktail of an antibody that targets the S protein. Now, we know there's been talks all along about vaccines and whether or not antibodies can be a potential way that we can help treat patients. This antibody, this monoclonal antibody, has just been in trial here recently. I think they had a total of 275 patients that have undergone treatment in an outpatient setting. And they did have actually promising results with this new drug. Now, granted, it is new and it has not gone through all the phases of what we do to definitively say that this is a drug that we should use. So in this time, it is one of those things of, is it the COVID-19 that's causing him to go into the hospital? Is it a reaction to the medication? Is this something altogether different? We don't know. And like I said, unfortunately, I'm not sure if we can trust all the reports that come out, but we do pray that he is going to be well, because this is our country, and at this point, it is a national security risk.
And on that particular point, again, look, so many people. Here's a guy, 74 years old, mm-hmm. obese. Two of the biggest risk factors you see right there. This is ABC has a video of him walking out moments ago, walking to the helicopter. That particular video there is, and the thing, Ebony, that people have to understand is this is not something you play around with. This is simply not. 204,000 people have already died. 7 million Americans have been infected. And the callousness by which he has acted in terms of not caring about masks, telling people don't wear masks. Now we know White House reporters are testing positive for coronavirus. Staffers as round. He acted as if he was invincible and that he couldn't get it and that no one else should really worry about it. He encouraged these folks, these anti-mask people, having their rallies, bringing their guns to the state capitol in Michigan, storming the capitol in Idaho, other different places. And now, he tests positive. The governor of Missouri and his wife tested positive. We know, a Republican. We know, of course, the governor of Virginia did so as well. It does not matter what your status is. You can get COVID-19.
Right. And from the very beginning of this pandemic, we've been talking about the 3 T's: testing, tracing, and treatment. And unfortunately, that second T is going to be an absolute nightmare in this situation because Donald Trump has held rallies in multiple cities across our nation where tens of thousands of Americans have been in attendance. So exactly where did he pick it up? Right now the media is concentrating on Hope Hicks, and I actually, in a way, feel bad for her because although she is negligent and although she should also be ashamed of the number of people that she potentially infected due to ego, we don't know and we cannot say for sure that she was the reason why Donald Trump was actually infected. And it is impossible actually to trace out the number of people he's been in contact with and the number of people they've been in contact with at this stage. And so we as a nation have to buckle up. What we know is during this fall, our numbers are already expected to increase. And now with this growing number of people that we see kind of close to the home of the center of the safety of our nation, that's a very scary place for America to be. So we got to start taking this seriously, and hopefully his followers now will take it seriously and will start to wear their masks so we can all be safe.
And one of the point that you made there when you talked about contact tracing, again, there was a video earlier of folks there in the White House Rose Garden. They was Saturday for the announcement of Amy Coney Barrett. They were just there hugging, kissing, no mask. In fact, here is a video right here. This is from Saturday. That and it shows you the nonsense, if you will, Dr. Hilton, that and the sheer arrogance of these folks, acting as if COVID is no big deal. Watch this here. Look at this video here. They're just sitting here hugging, no mask, talking to each other. That's Senator Mike Lee. He now is tested positive. Chris Christie, hugging, close. He was on ABC News on Tuesday night next to other staffers as well.
This is a mess. One thing, as far as Senator Mike, that I think was he in Utah?
Utah. Senator Mike Lee from Utah.
Yeah. Right. And one of the statements he made was that he tested negative at the White House and tested positive back home. And this is a very important distinction to make. For one, the tests are only as good as the amount of virus that you're actually shedding. So we talked about before that you can actually be infected and not necessarily test positive because your viral load is not high enough yet to be detected by that test. The second thing is we know that not all tests are created equal. So at the White House, they've been using the rapid test, the Abbott Now. And that test has been shown that 3 out of every 10 times that is saying that you are negative, that is not true, that you actually are positive. And so people rely heavily on this test that I'm negative, this test that I'm negative. I have to do better at recognizing what the experts are trying to tell everyone, that you should treat everyone as if they are positive, that you should wear your mask at all times, that you should socially distance, that you should wash your hands and not touch your face. We have not changed that stance since beginning of March, right? And it still remains today, if not more so. We have to be hyper vigilant as we're heading into this flu season.
As you're talking, this is video from C-SPAN of Marine One landing at Walter Reed Hospital. This is a live look here. The point that you just made, that again, that people don't seem to get about coronavirus, who don't seem to understand, its impact, is that it doesn't just show up immediately. It takes a while for it to show up.
Yeah. And, the thing I like to kind of compare it to for women, and I think everyone can understand this, pregnancy tests. Think of COVID-19 tests like a pregnancy test. You can test negative for a pregnancy test Monday morning, but if you and your significant other, your spouse, if you are engaging in activity where there is a lack of protection, you can be pregnant by Monday night. It literally is that fast of exchange of bodily fluid in the form of respiratory droplets that can lead you to have a different life path. And what we know with COVID-19 is that for the most part, yes, a good 80% of us will have mild to no symptoms at all. But we know that there's a subset of people that it doesn't give you a warning, and it can trigger this severe inflammatory response within your body. And the thing that we have to recognize too is that we're praying that Donald Trump, that he does survive this. What we know is that we've had 4% of all the closed cases in the United States have passed away from COVID-19. But the remaining people, the ones who have actually recovered, they've had massive strokes, they've had massive heart attacks, they've had their limbs amputated because of blood clots. They now have dialysis requirements because their kidneys are no longer working. They have permanent oxygen requirements because their lungs are no longer working. This is the truth of what COVID-19 is. And the progression to that, from the time you get infected to the time you start to show symptoms, is typically 5 days. The time you get to start showing symptoms, so you need to be in the hospital, is typically right around 5 to 10 days, right? And then unfortunately, the time that you get infected to the time of actually death is about 2 weeks. So Donald Trump was just tested positive within the last few hours. He has a long road ahead of him. And these next couple of weeks may feel like the longest 2 weeks of his life.
We also need to, as we talk about this thing, also expand this and to get people to understand. Again, the Marine One has landed at Walter Reed Medical Center, and you see he's getting off. First of all, not wearing any gloves, just simply has a cloth mask on. He doesn't even have an N95 mask. Earlier today we saw Vice President Joe Biden give a speech, and he was wearing an N95 mask the entire time.
This is one of those things, again, where at least he has a mask, but it's one of those things where I cannot imagine any expert has told him to come out with a cloth mask on. And he was on an airplane, an enclosed space, with many people who also look like they just have on cloth masks. And they have every resource at their fingertips they could be using. So why are they not? And so to give people an example, you do have the different type masks. You have the cloth masks that you can buy. There are many vendors online that people have these cloth masks. The next step up is going to be a form of surgical mask, and we have the 3-layer surgical masks that are also really good if you have any other option. You then have the N95 mask, and these are the ones that we've talked a great deal about that help to filter out the virus somewhat. But
we're showing the video here. This is Joe Biden earlier, and again, giving he gave the speech with his mask on the entire time. Okay, Ebony, go. She's about to show us his other mask. Is that the monstrosity you wear when you're in University of Virginia Hospital?
Yes. This is a P100 mask because I don't play with COVID. And so, there's different levels of safety that you can take if you're going to be in close proximity with COVID-19 virus. This one clearly fits over my entire face. But in the case of Donald Trump, when you have tested positive, at this point, his body has the virus, but everyone else is on the plane. Protect yourself. And it's one of those things of, I don't know what else it will take for this administration. Herman Cain died from COVID-19, and that wasn't enough. Now the president and the first lady of the White House have COVID-19, and clearly the chief of staff came out today earlier to talk about the fact that they were positive without a mask on.
Right.
And
in fact, another White House official stated that a mask is still optional in the White House. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
I don't know what the bottom is. I oftentimes ask people that. What is your bottom? What will it take before it wakes you up? And I initially I thought that this would be one of those things of, if we have 100 people die in the United States, and then it came to, well, if 1,000 people die, surely. And then it was 100,000. And now I'm thinking, will it take 500,000 people? Will it take 1 million? And I for sure thought, if the president, the leader of this campaign of this is a hoax and this is nothing, if he gets it, then surely that will be an end to all this. And the last 10 hours of me knowing this, I've seen zero change out of some people. And so, yeah, I'm not hopeful that this will stop. But I'm praying that Donald Trump, after this, will change his tune and hopefully help to save hundreds of thousands of American lives.
Ebony, yesterday, actually 2 days ago, the governor of Mississippi, he decided to lift the state's mask mandate. Also, yesterday, the governor of Texas chose to tell the big counties they can only have one mail drop box. I think what is going to happen, I would hope, that all of these idiots out here who've been playing games with COVID, who've been playing games with politics, are now going to realize, hello, y'all might want to cut the nonsense out, because if your guy, Trump, got it, everybody's at risk.
Oh, and for sure. And I think one important thing, too, with Trump that we need to notice with this attack on politics, we know necropolitics are policies that directly influence whether or not you live or die. That's going to be on the line with this election this year. And I do encourage everyone to vote. But we noticed that Trump, you have free health care. You were not only you have free health care, but you were actually given a treatment in your home and then flown to another hospital for immediate care. That's socialized medicine. And that's the thing that you've been touting about, that we don't need that in America, that Biden is a socialist. But healthcare, we should not be debating whether or not, if someone is sick and they're on their deathbed, whether or not we should be able to help them in that moment. And hopefully he will now be the champion for that changing. But yeah, the changing around of ballots and where someone can go and vote, that is all a tactic to disenfranchise people. And I'm hoping that people don't fall for it, that we show up early and make your voices known.
Quentin Young, I want to pull you in right now. Again, all of these folks are sitting here. Conservatives are talking about folks should be praying for the president and pulling through. And first of all, we don't want to see anyone be seriously ill or die from COVID-19. But I think about Herman Cain. I think about Herman Cain, who goes to the president's rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Shortly thereafter, gets coronavirus. Less than 1 month later, he's dead. And all of these people who play games with this don't want to do social distancing. He kept having rallies. Again, for his senior aide, Hope Hicks, to actually get test positive, and he still go to a fundraiser in New Jersey like it's no big deal, and no one at that fundraiser knows that she had tested positive, and at that very point, he was carrying coronavirus. That shows you the absolute disregard that Donald Trump has for other people's health and well-being.
The issue that I have here is where does it go from here? Right? We see that it's serious because I don't believe Donald Trump would want to go to the hospital if it wasn't, right? I'm sure they almost had to drag him there. So at this point, what his surrogates say? What happens with him now? Because he has to get some amount of treatment. It has to be a big issue, right? And I kind of don't believe that they're really going to shift their stance on coronavirus that much. They're going to still downplay this issue.
Julianne Malveaux, there are a lot of people out here who are saying this isn't true, it's false. You can't, and this is part of the deal, part of the reason why when you're in administration and you lie to people for the last 3.5 years, no one believes you. There are people who are going, we don't know if this guy actually has it. We think he's lying. We think this is all about getting attention. We think this shuts down the whole white supremacy, QAnon, as well as Proud Boys whole deal. This is what happens when people don't have trust in government, because you haven't earned the trust. And that's why you're already seeing folks say, hey, we think this is all a charade.
Well, he has set the foundation for lying. He's told more than 20,000 lies since he's been in office. I've heard people say either they don't believe he has it, or others say it must be worse than they're even putting out there when they first said mild symptoms. Well, you don't go to the hospital for mild symptoms. So people are just all over the place because they don't know. And because, Mark Meadows, that little thing he did, the press conference, whatever he did, it was so shallow. It was ridiculous. And again, as the sister doctor said, and without a mask. How do you do this without a mask? Well, you do it if you're sending mixed signals. This is serious. It's not that serious. I don't have to wear a mask. Last week, Trump went to Jacksonville, Newport News, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He went to Cleveland. He went to Duluth, Minnesota. He went all over the place. Minnesota, Missouri, one of those. He went all over the place. So who knows? I mean, the issue of tracking is very important here because who knows who was close to him? Who knows who touched him or who he coughed on? And he doesn't have to cough. All he has to do is open his mouth and start spewing, and those droplets are falling. So, don't nobody believe. Everybody has some skepticism about what's going on because he set the foundation for this skepticism.
Ebony Hilton, I want to bring you back in. You and I were on the phone. We were talking when before he was having the rally there in Newport News, and you were like, "Let me pull up the stats here." And the folks in Newport News were begging him not to come. And again, the sheer arrogance to keep having these large rallies. And then he was like, well, we had them outdoors. No, you lied because you had a couple indoors as well. And these idiots are just standing there right next to each other and and no mask. And then when somebody comes on stage about wearing a mask, it happened in Ohio. The lieutenant governor was on stage about wearing a mask and these fools start booing him.
Right. I mean, and that's not the only lie, right? I hope his supporters noticed that initially he said it was a hoax. And then it turned from being a hoax to I am now promoting this drug, hydroxychloroquine, right? And one thing I want everyone to notice is that in the report that his physician released in the treatment that was given emergently to Donald Trump in the White House, it did not contain hydroxychloroquine. Now, this is a drug that he's been pushing for the last 7 months, telling the American public that the reason why they don't want to give you this drug is just to make me look bad. And now, so I hope his supporters see that when he himself has been diagnosed with COVID-19, did he ask for that drug to be given? And the answer is no, because it is shown to have increased mortality with that drug. And so this is just a number of his lies that he continues to tell. And the wool has been lifted from everyone's eyes. I'm hoping everyone saw the helicopter have to take him to Walter Reed. And so we can get on with the next phase of how do we deal with this pandemic and have it based in truth and in science.
Also, Dr. Hilton, I certainly hope also the people who keep playing games with this, the people who keep going, having events and having parties and going to clubs and going to restaurants and bars and having all these massive get-togethers, not wearing masks, realize that this thing is real. Again, you and I have talked about young folks, 19 years old, 25 years old, dying because of coronavirus, people who are in great shape. The problem is doctors still do not know what this thing does to different bodies. It'll hit somebody who's in their 40s. The guy who was in Massachusetts, I believe, who was a triathlete. I mean, they fought for this man to live, and it was unbelievable. And they said they tried every single thing, and then other people impacted them a whole different way. Doctors simply don't know, and so when people go, it's no big deal, you don't know how this thing might impact you. You might be the fittest person in the world, but all of a sudden it gets in your body and just other stuff happens.
Right, and it's one thing for adults. I have a special place in my heart for children. Children have no choice, and adults have made choices for them to now be placed into schools where they can be potentially put at risk of contracting this. And how many have at this point? Well, we know that over 500,000 children have been diagnosed with COVID-19. It's been an increase of over 720% as far as the cases from early summer to now. When you look at hospitalizations, we've had an increase in over 346% of children now having to be hospitalized for COVID-19. And of those, 1 in every 3 are required to be admitted to the ICU. And of those, you're 5 times more likely to be admitted to the ICU. If you're a Black child, you're 8 times more likely to be admitted to the ICU if you're a Hispanic child. And we've even seen an increase in the number of children that are dying from this disease. And that's where I have, the major problem is that the children, they don't have a voice. And then when we're looking at even the age group of people who, again, don't die, we're seeing, for instance, at the University of Pennsylvania, I think the athletes who tested positive for COVID-19, 15 to 30% of them when they had a scan, even if they had mild to no symptoms at all, they were shown to have inflammation of their heart. There was another study in Germany where of 100 people who had no symptoms or mild symptoms related to COVID-19, 78% of them had inflammation of their heart when there was a scan performed. And what does that do for the long-term effect? Does that mean that in 15 years from now, are we going to see a great increase in the number of people who have heart failure? That instead of you having heart failure at the age of 60, 70 years old, you're now having heart failure at the age of 40? That's what we need to be real about in the United States, is that we are learning things every single day, and we cannot afford to infect the mass of us with something that we don't know what the endpoint looks like.
Rob, I want to go to you. This is, and again, when we start looking at how we move forward, this just, I guess for lack of a better phrase, folks have been talking about karma. They've been talking about how things come at you real fast. I mean, look, this is the deal. This administration has played games with coronavirus. They have ignored scientists. They've ignored doctors. The CDC has altered information. They've stopped them from giving different directives. They've done all these different things. They wanted to play this thing down like it was, hey, let's just put it out of sight, out of mind. That was their strategy. And now it's front and center. Now they've canceled all campaign events. Now they're going virtual. I dare say right now, Senator Kamala Harris and the Biden campaign should come out and say no to a debate in Utah. We're not getting on a plane. Have it in Washington, D.C. No audiences there, but no, damn going to Utah.
I mean, to me, they don't even have to have a debate at this point anymore. I think after the first debate, for a lot of reasons that you've already discussed, they don't need to have it. This is another reason why they don't need to have it. There's nothing that we're going to gain from a debate. But I want to go back to something that the sister said that I think is really, really, really important, that really needs to be emphasized, that the fact that we don't know the long-term effects. She already talked about the health effects. But what are going to be the long-term effects of really the economics of the whole situation? What about our healthcare companies? I don't know if they overrule Obamacare. Are they going to say this is a pre-existing condition, you're no longer covered? Or is your insurance company, when they see maybe you've had COVID, will you not now be able to get life insurance even though you're 40, because they don't know the effects of the future, so they don't want to give you life insurance? I mean, there are so many things that we don't know, and I hope that this is a turning point really for our nation in how we do healthcare, how we invest in each other. I mean, we have one or two ways. We can keep going the way that we were going, and the way that we were going, we were really literally killing each other because people did not want to believe that this virus was there because it was politically inconvenient. It was economically inconvenient, but the facts are facts. Data is data, and science works. And I really hope that we can come together and actually start solving problems and moving forward as a nation, and not go back to this just stupid way, or this emotional way of just reacting just because it's comfortable for us in the moment.
Dr. Ebony Hilton, your final word.
Yeah, I guess my final word is that at the end of the day, this is not political. These are people. At this stage, literally 1 in every 1,000 Black people who were alive in January has died from COVID-19. That's a crazy number. And we're seeing that, again, with the inflow of the fall season. I'm really afraid because we have crippled the trust of the community into the medical system. There's been criticism of the CDC and the World Health Organization, and people don't know what to trust anymore. So I'm hoping people trust me when I say this. What I fear is that the combination of getting the flu and COVID-19 at the same time, that is an overwhelming inflammatory response. And that's what caused so many people early on to pass away from COVID-19. And we haven't made much advancements as far as treatment options. We don't have a vaccine at this point, right? So if you will do me a favor and just go out and get your flu shot as early as you can get it. I got mine 2 days ago. Get your flu shot so that you can best protect yourself, and then wear your mask. Stay at home as much as possible. I know it's tough, but we're going to have to buckle down these next few months. And by a few months, I mean well into 2021, until we get our finger on the pulse of this thing, because we all want to live. And at this point, we've lost too many of our family and friends. Yeah. So let's try to make it together, and we can do this.
All right, then. Dr. Ebony Hilton, University of Virginia. We surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks at Seek.com, of course, they black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel. They have a couple of great products that you can actually get. This is their VR headset. This headset, folks, allows for you to actually take your cell phone, pop it right into here, close it up, and then you can actually watch the VR content, the virtual reality content on Seek.com right there through your phone. Actually, it's pretty cool. You can also look at 360-degree video from other websites as well, and it puts you literally right there where the video was shot. And so they have this particular headset right here. They also have their 360-degree 4D headphones. And so these headphones right here, which are Bluetooth. Also, they have the headset, which you use for when you, if you're for all you gamers out there. And then, of course, it has this amazing sound, really, which actually covers around. Typically, you just have the headphones just right here, but this actually has a sound that goes all around your head. I love these headphones. Love listening to music with them and watching videos as well. And so, all you got to do, folks, is go to Seek.com, Seek.com. Use the promo code RMVIP2020. That's RMVIP2020 to actually try these out. And so that's what we want you to do. All right, folks. So again, go to Seek.com. All right, folks. Back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, I want to talk about this story here out of Texas that is really crazy and also speaks to one of the issues that we as African Americans have to face. Black student in Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas. She is a white roommate. Well, she's a black freshman. Well, what happened was her racist white roommates set her up, which led to the university police officers bursting into her room with guns drawn at 3 in the morning. Christine, first of all, her name is Christine. It's a really crazy story. Her 3 white roommates, along with as many as 7 other girls, told their resident assistant that she was trying to attack them. They falsely accused her of having scissors. The RA then called campus police, and cops showed up, guns drawn, at 3 o'clock in the morning. The family, they certainly want the university to step in. This is one of those stories, Brittany, that we've seen other places as well. I guess it was at Yale, I believe, where a white roommate was essentially, she was poisoning her black roommate. I mean, we've had other stories as well of racism when it comes to college roommates.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an ongoing thing for Black students. These types of racist attacks on Black folks at these universities is neither rare nor random. Like you mentioned, these episodes not only correspond with what the Anti-Defamation League identifies as like this unprecedented increase in white supremacist activity since fall of 2016. And I'm going to let the viewers make that correlation. Since then, Black college students have been targeted in a ton of attacks at the Ivy League University, where I believe one white college student, she had a Black college student, she tried to poison her with her menstrual blood. In New York, at a New York institution, there was an issue. There was an issue at the University of Illinois, Catholic College in Pennsylvania. There's been multiple incidents historically, but especially heightened over the last 4 years, if you will. And it's unfortunate because these Black students have to live with the trauma. Can you imagine? I mean, we can imagine. We know too many of us have stories where guns have come blazing unjustly as a result of, white hatred. And, I think it's really important that the universities are doing the right steps and really caring about the Black students that they say they care about so much, right? Listen, I can tell you as somebody that works on a university campus, I've seen racist remarks not only come down from the university president, but I've also seen neo-Nazi posters all over the institution, and not much has been done. So it really is an issue that we have to deal with.
Malik, statement from the university regarding what took place to Christine Evans. The university is investigating a racially diverse group of students in an accident involving a false report to the University Police Department. The students responsible will be held accountable for their actions at every possible level. This is where people should be kicked out of school.
You actually, and I'm glad you read that statement, because when I saw it and I said to myself, well, what does that mean, a racially diverse group of students? And I know the 3 roommates were white and then the other 7 were racially diverse, but I don't know what that means. I have no concept of what that means at all and how that factors into what they did. What the roommates did were wrong. It doesn't matter if she were black or if the roommates were white. Even if the roommates were black, this is something that was wrong anyway. Whatever the motivation was, this is something that was wrong. We've definitely seen these things around the country before, so this isn't surprising to me. But one of the things that as I was reading up and just looking at some of these other cases, these things aren't prosecuted. They aren't prosecuted or even the finding that this was actually done for any type of racial purpose. So when you have these type of incidents racial motivation, but so when you have these type of incidents, clearly you have these 3 white roommates, I think I'm assuming female roommates, going doing this type of calling the police on to come in and do I think they call it swapping or something. Maybe that's the actual term.
Swatting. It's swatting. Swatting.
Yeah, swatting. Yeah, so the fact that they did this in and of itself is wrong. But I wonder, why is it that in all of these cases they don't find any type of racial motivation? I don't know what you need for something to be racially motivated. And that's what kind of got me about the case that was going on in Texas. Yes, we've seen this many times before. I think it was in Connecticut, I believe it was. It was in, and maybe that's where the white student called the authorities on a black student who was napping on campus. What is that?
It's easy. It's called being black in America. That's what it's called. Yeah. It's called being black in America.
Yeah, but it's just so, it's like, even in the state of Connecticut, there's nothing in the findings of it to say that these type of things were racially motivated. So I just wonder, well, what is it that you have to prove? And I know at the federal level, it's a very high bar for proving hate crimes and things like that. But even on a state level, what is it that you have to do to prove that something was racially motivated? It seems like this is just the case in many of these all around the country.
Yep, that's what it means to be black in America. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks at Seek.com, of course, they black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel. They have a couple of great products that you can actually get. This is their VR headset. This headset, folks, allows for you to actually take your cell phone, pop it right into here, close it up, and then you can actually watch the VR content, the virtual reality content on Seek.com right there through your phone. Actually, it's pretty cool. You can also look at 360-degree video from other websites as well, and it puts you literally right there where the video was shot. And so they have this particular headset right here. They also have their 360-degree 4D headphones. And so these headphones right here, which are Bluetooth. Also, they have the headset, which you use for when if you're for all you gamers out there. And then, of course, it has this amazing sound, really, which actually covers around. Typically, just have the headphones just right here, but this actually has a sound that goes all around your head. I love these headphones. Love listening to music with them and watching videos as well. And so, all you got to do, folks, is go to Seek.com, Seek.com. Use the promo code RMVIP 2020. That's RMVIP 2020 to actually try these out. And so that's what we want you to do. All right, folks. So again, go to Seek.com. Hey, fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. This real quick, y'all. That was a shit show. It was trash. If you want to see how much Donald Trump is a bully, how pathetic he is, how trifling he is, how ignorant he is, how shameful he is. You saw it tonight. If you are a voter, and if you vote for Donald Trump, you are voting for one of the most ignorant, disrespectful, shameful, sadistic, pathetic individuals ever to sit in the Oval Office. He was an abomination. He was rude. He was sick. He would not shut up. He was disrespectful. There is no way in hell, watching that debate, I would want to even consider voting for that man. If you are a Republican and you're going to vote for him, shame on you. Shame on you. There was only one grown up on that stage tonight, and that was Joe Biden. He tried to be respectful. He tried to adhere to the moderator, but flat out, Donald Trump is stupid. Donald Trump is pathetic. It's as simple as that. If you vote for that, you need to go somewhere. That was awful. We just watched an hour and a half debate of sheer stupidity, and that man actually has the nuclear codes. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? That was just pathetic. To listen to him, at one point I thought Chris Wallace was going to say, "Shut the fuck up." At one point I thought he was going to literally say, "Shut the fuck up." And Chris Wallace was awful. Chris Wallace should have said, "I'm not going to ask another question until you respect the rules." Chris Wallace should have sat there and said nothing. Chris, let me go here. I'm about to really go here. A woman would have moderated this debate better. Because a woman would have said, "We are not going to continue unless you behave properly."
I listened to some of the commentary already, and
Again,
there's people missing some things. You know, first off, Rob said earlier that it was the vice president's job.
A woman would have said,
That's a reassuring performance by the vice president tonight.
"We are not moving forward.
Many times during this,
We're not moving forward with this nonsense. We're not moving with this nonsense."
And then he used lots of name calling and insulting language.
Please.
That's not rising above it. I have to
Please. You listen to this idiot, Chris Christie. That's it.
And yeah, I think
So,
Trump's side was too hot.
Listen, Trump was stupid. Trump was stupid. If y'all want to see who deserves to sit in the Oval Office, it's not Donald Trump. It's not Donald Trump. It's as simple as that. It's simple as that. Simple as that. That's it, y'all. I wasn't going to spend much time. We were going to actually do some post analysis. No, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen because I said we ain't going to spend that much time. So I just want to give y'all a shout out. All right, then. I'm about to bounce. Y'all take care. Peace.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, when I first saw this video on social media, I actually thought it was a joke. I really did. I thought it was a joke. And then I saw the link, and I was like, okay, is this a parody? And then a lot of people out there, they were saying, oh, this is white Democrats coming up with ways to target black people. And then I saw a tweet from this sister who said, no, I am the one who was behind this actual video. The videos of 7 Georgia strippers. They released an important message about getting out the vote. Watch.
Get your booty to the pole, 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 yeah.
Did we get your attention? Good.
So, you really not gonna vote? You know it's more than just the president on the ballot, right? Check it.
A district attorney decides who to prosecute,
including whether or not to go after dirty cops.
Do you know who elects the DA? We do, but you don't want to vote.
Can't make it rain if you locked up on some bullshit.
Want trades and coding taught in our schools? Then vote for the school boards that will prepare us for the job market.
Want to end cash bail? Well, then vote for the sheriffs and county officials that feel the same way you do.
But you talking about, oh, they gonna pick who they gonna pick, shawty.
Ferguson just elected their first black mayor.
You know how that happened?
It's clear Black lives don't matter to some of our current elected officials.
If they matter to you, then don't let other people decide who's gonna run your community. Get your booty to the poll. Get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your vote, yeah, vote, stretch.
For information on how and where to vote, as well as resources to find out who's running where you live, go to getyourbootytothepoll.com.
Now, folks, Get Your Booty to the Poll is a project started by 2 Atlanta-based filmmakers, Paul Fox and Angela Gomes. They organized a GoFundMe in July called Angela and Paul Want Black People to Vote. They promised to those who donated to use the money to shoot and distribute a public service announcement featuring dancers from some of Atlanta's finest gentlemen clubs. And so I was online, I was seeing folks who were critical of it. And then I saw a tweet from Angela Gomes and realized she followed me on Twitter. She joins us right now. Angela, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So folks have been saying this is shameful. It is despicable. How dare you? This is degrading to black people to put out a PSA featuring strippers. Your response?
Black Lives Matter, that means all Black Lives Matter. So the respectability, it's not only respectable lives matter. To me, all Black Lives matter. And I don't know, Atlanta has a culture that there's a lot of different parts of our culture. There's people that are into the whole black nerd thing. There's people that like the cigar bars. There's people that go to church Wednesdays and Sundays. And there's people that go to the strip clubs. And Atlanta is famous for Coca-Cola and strip clubs. So I wanted to do something that was absolutely undeniably Atlanta. That would get people's attention. And you said you thought it was a parody at first. In a way, it kind of is, because if I had wrote a song called "Get Your Booty to the POLE" and had the same graphics and just not talked about the presidential election, I don't think anybody would have blinked an eye.
And on that particular note, I was looking at some of the other responses, and initially a lot of folks were saying that, oh, white Democrats came up with this in order to reach black people, and that you took offense to that.
Well, I understand there is a lot of pandering from both sides, so I understand where that idea may have come from. What bothered me is that after I corrected somebody who has a large following, whose name I won't repeat, and when I corrected them, they doubled down and said that both me and Paul were white Democrats and that we were back. This is all unsubstantiated stuff, because this is literally an idea that came out of my head, and Paul and I decided to work together to make it happen. And it was, we started a GoFundMe because in the beginning, so many people wanted to help. They're like, well, can I at least donate money? So we started the GoFundMe to donate money, to get donations, and fortunately made enough to pay for the whole spot. So originally, Paul and I were going to just pay for it ourselves.
I've seen women. I've seen even some men say, black people, this degrades African Americans. Yet I've seen others who say, wait a minute, we act as if strippers don't also have a vote as well, and why can't they do an ad? Have you been surprised by the reaction from African Americans to this ad?
I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be for everybody. This ad was never intended to get all black people to vote or all black men to vote, because not all black men like strip clubs or strippers or think that it's okay. There's a whole, separate conversation we could have about respectability politics, I'm sure. But this ad was for the people in Atlanta that I know like strip clubs. I am just Angela. Me and Paul were just Angela and Paul, two friends who decided to do something together. And it was not any kind of backing. We didn't have sponsors. We didn't have a big budget or any budget. We just had our credit cards, everything. Paul and I charged everything. And so it's not like there was this big, I don't have this budget to push a message that I could get out to get to everybody. So I had to be as specific as possible. And I had to do something I knew it had to be shareable. It had to be informative. It had to be something people would want to share. And it had to be quintessentially, unapologetically ATL. That's what I wanted. And I think that's what I got. And I'm very proud of it.
Avis Jones-DeWeaver, I saw you and Jason Johnson going back and forth on this. That's actually one of the places where I first saw it. You did not mince words or your thoughts about this ad.
Yeah. I was, here's the thing. I understand the argument around respectability politics, understand the argument about Atlanta culture. What we were going back and forth was the fact that, thinking broader than ATL, I personally cannot imagine an ad like that with women who weren't Black. And I think there is a certain way in which Black women are depicted in this culture, in a more broadly speaking, that other women are not subjected to. There is a level in which we have become numb to seeing Black women's body and Googling Black women's bodies. And I can't imagine a commercial like that with all white women, for example. And as a Black woman who navigates the world as a Black woman, there are implications of that on Black women who don't choose to strip. Now, if you choose to strip, that is your right. I'm not castigating you. You're grown. You can do whatever you want to do. But I think it is not honest if we were to argue that this is something that all women would have the same sort of experience. We just would not see this. I don't see us seeing something like this in this culture in a way that would objectify other women to the same degree that we continuously see Black women objectified, not just with this, but across hip hop, across many other areas of American culture. We seem to be so familiar with exposing Black women's bodies. I do appreciate the fact that at least this has a good message. You're trying to get women to vote and men to vote, and not just exposing Black women's bodies to line other people's pockets, which is usually what it's done for. But that was my challenge with it. I just felt like I could not imagine this type of thing being exposed to the world with other women.
Angela?
I just couldn't see it.
I totally see her point of view. GoDaddy used to do ads that had sexy women, and people had a problem with that. I understand the problem with the objectification of women, which is why for my spot, I didn't do like a bunch of naked dancers or half naked dancers and voiceover. I gave them a voice. For me personally, I believe sex work is work. And if you want to be an exotic dancer, then that's a job, and that's using your body the same as if you're a construction worker or a coal miner. And it's about people getting over the fact that they consider that something that's disrespectful in the first place. We have been, as people, as Black people, as all people, have been shaking their butts since before Jesus Christ. So that's something that people do. People dance. And to somehow say that certain kinds of dance are acceptable and respectable and certain kinds of dances aren't, to me, I personally see it as part of the Atlanta culture.
Rena
and
Shaw,
to pretend like it doesn't exist would be lying about my culture.
Rena Shaw, the point that Angela made about sex workers, I've seen a number of folks who are on OnlyFans.com clap back at folks who say, you know, how dare you criticize folks there? It's actual. It's a job. You also see elected officials who are also putting protections in place for sex workers. And so, is this take into account what Avis had to say? Your thoughts again about how we as a broader society perceive this type of PSA compared to other PSAs done by entertainers or people who are in other professions. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I completely understand the intention behind it. And I'm all about having a little fun. It feels like a really dark time in politics. And I've been working in politics for a long time. And as a conservative, a lifelong one where, look, I mean, I wore certain things when I was growing up and I was sent right back upstairs. But I was also in the mindset when I got to college that this is my body, I can do what I want with it. And my independently formed thoughts about all of it were really independent of my folks at that point. And I just said, I do not believe that using my body for sex work is work. And that's just where I differ on this entire thing. So I really hear Avis when she says that Black women's bodies being objectified the way they are. It's like we as a society, I being a brown woman, not a Black woman, am on the one hand, surprised, mortified to see the backside of a Black woman just so plainly exposed in a thong. Whereas I know we wouldn't see a white woman's backside like that or an Asian woman. It's just not typical. And I feel that there's an element that in seeing these visuals, it sets other Black women who choose not to do this as work. It sets them behind professionally because that trickles into how Black women are also talked about. They're talked about like these sassy beings. Oh, you're sassy because you put your body out there. You put your voice out there. And I feel like that's really difficult. So I get it. This was good fun. The message is positive. Everybody should vote. If it changes some hearts and minds about voting, look, I'm all for it. I just worry about this for younger women thinking it's okay to use our bodies to send messages like this when there are other ways we can do it. We can use our hands, we can write, we can talk, we can use a lot of different things. But I'm all mixed up about it. Roland.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, but to me, like if that's what they choose to do, then that's what they choose to do. It's work. And I understand, like, from you're seeing it as a shameful thing. So we're losing the message. The message is politicians are not paying attention to the needs of Black people and specifically Black men. And if we can get more of our voting power to say, look, you have to pay attention, politicians will be afraid for their jobs and they'll have to pay attention. Because Black lives matter, not just Black respectable lives. Black lives matter. And when you start parsing it out going, oh, we don't want to see this part of who we are, when Magic City is like, that's people think Coca-Cola and Magic City when they think about Atlanta. So for me to pretend that doesn't exist is a lie. And it's not saying if it's good or bad or otherwise. If you don't like it, then fine. The ad's not for you. Then don't watch it. The ad wasn't for you. The ad was for the brothers that like going to the club, that like to listen. Well, here's the thing. In my wildest dreams, I never thought this was going to leave it. I thought this was going to be something people passed around. I'm in my 40s. I am not about viral videos. On my personal Instagram, it's not even on my personal Instagram because I couldn't figure out how to repost the video. I am not a social media person. So, I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. I thought this was going to be something that was going to be big in Atlanta because we have, ATL. We have a bunch of little inside jokes that might get out to some other cities with, some chocolate populations. And that was it. I never in a million years thought I was going to be this big. But I'll be honest. If I knew that in the beginning, I would probably.
You broke up there. You said if I knew this in the beginning. No, hold on 1 second. Your video broke up. You said if I knew this in the beginning.
Oh, I would still do it because people are talking about cash bail. People are talking about the respectability politics, which is a whole nother conversation. But people are talking about cash bail and talking about criminal justice reform and talking about trades in schools. These are things people are talking about because our spot brought it up. What other national voter, any kind of elected official is talking about those things in their ads? They're not. And these are issues that plague that can help Black people, that can help our communities.
Angela,
so if I got your attention.
All right. Angela Gomes, we certainly appreciate you joining us on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thanks a lot.
All All right. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, folks. Back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, the New York Times obtained Donald Trump's tax information covering more than 2 decades. The revelations they dropped Sunday afternoon are stunning. It shows that he paid $750. Yes, 750 in federal income taxes the year he won the presidency. In his first year in the White House, he paid another $750, and he has paid no income taxes at all in 10 of the previous 15 years because he reported losing much more money than he made. Also hanging over him is a decades-long audit battle with the Internal Revenue Service over the legitimacy of a $72.9 million tax refund that he claimed and received after declaring huge losses. This shocking and stunning report has upended the campaign. Donald Trump yesterday came out with a news conference saying, fake news, fake news. And of course, his supporters have been scurrying, trying to say that the report isn't real, but you notice he hasn't actually released his taxes. Joining us right now is financial services and regulatory attorney James Davis. James, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So here's the thing that jumps out here. Donald Trump can yell fake news all he wants to. He keeps saying that he's under audit. The IRS commissioner's already said he's not under audit. He does not want to release his taxes. He's been fighting Congress all the way to the Supreme Court to get his taxes. He's fighting the Manhattan District Attorney. He's fighting the Attorney General of New York State. No one fights that vigorously to keep their taxes hidden unless there's something they don't want folks to know.
I think there are a couple of things at play here. First of all, you have the public opinion about how rich he is. But the brass tacks of it all is the potential criminal implications of what he's been telling the government for over a decade. Now, if you look at what's happened to his compatriots, Mr. Manafort and Mr. Cohen, you can start to get a glimpse of how these individuals treated their tax returns. Not to say that Trump's doing the same thing, but the indicia of him doing the same thing are definitely present in that article. For example, Michael Cohen did not declare roughly $4 million of income on his tax returns. So we don't even know what Trump has not actually declared. Number two, Paul Manafort I think he actually characterized some income as loans that he had to pay back, which he didn't have to pay back. So who knows how many of those loans that are on Trump's tax returns are actually of the same type?
Well, not only that, the New York Times report also says that Donald Trump paid his daughter, Ivanka, as a consultant on deals when she was already working for the company. And some experts say this is a way to get around the gift tax.
Yeah, so I'm not a tax expert, but from what was described in the article, that seems like something you should not be doing. And again, the implications of criminal violations for him and his family potentially is actually great, which kind of tells you why he really wants to be reelected at this point. And so what we have to start to realize is that these types of cases are like those 1,000-piece puzzles that we had when we were kids. I'm telling my age right now. But you would spread them out on the table, and start to piece by piece put things together. The tax returns that the New York Times has gotten a handle of, and I think they actually got abstracts, not the actual returns, but it still has roughly the same information. Prosecutors have to take pieces of this information along with bank statements, along with transaction documents to try to put this puzzle together. It's not an easy task, and we're talking a lot of years, roughly a decade here, possibly.
And what also jumps out is, again, what you're dealing with here is him personally guaranteeing money. Those loans are coming due very soon, upwards of $400 million. And this report also showed how he is still doing business with other countries that impacts foreign policy. The thing that also I thought was very interesting, he pays $750 in taxes to the United States, but pays several thousand and more than 100,000 to other governments like India and the Philippines and Turkey. He's literally paying more taxes to other countries than the United States.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on this, because the emoluments clause is not something that people like to talk about because it's very complicated and very abstract. But what we're seeing here is the foreign influence not only on U.S. policy, but possibly the self-promotion and self-income-inducing ventures overseas through his role as a president. So you're seeing both sides play to the middle here. And again, the people losing are the American people.
And, of course, one of the things that they uncovered is that there's some 500 entities, how he used shell company after shell company after shell company, and an extremely complex structure under the Trump organization where all of this stuff has been taking place.
If you actually read through the Manafort indictment, I think there are roughly 30 shell companies that Paul Manafort had created to conduct his transactions. And so, again, you're seeing the indicia of what happened with Paul Manafort in these news stories about Trump's tax returns. And so it kind of tells me that you could have the same result if there was a desire to actually bring a case against him.
Absolutely.
That's the other equation.
Absolutely. All right, then. James Davis, I certainly appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much. There will certainly be more that we're going to be seeing on this particular story, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, let's go to my panel. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor, environmental justice, EPA. Rena Shaw, the Lincoln Project Women's Coalition. Rena, I want to start with you. Again, Donald Trump wants to deny as much as possible this report. This is just very clear. It's undeniable. Donald Trump is a fraud. He's a liar. He's a cheat. Things we already knew. And all of those stupid-ass MAGA people who says, oh, he's looking out for me. No, what he's saying is, you're losers for paying taxes. I am not going to pay taxes. It's all on you.
You know, Roland, there's so much to unpack here. I've been coming on your show, and this is my second time back in a really long time. So I must say, I rarely come on this show having written so much down before to share with you all, because I just have so much to say on this. I made my career on the right during a time of the financial collapse in 2009 and 2008. I was there on Capitol Hill during that with members of Congress, listening to the people that were part of the Tea Party movement, the whole people who said, don't tread on me, and we are taxed to death, and we need people who will stand up and simplify this tax code, all this stuff. Look, Donald Trump gaslit them, as I love to say. This guy is a gaslighter in chief. He does it to us on the regular. He says, I'm one of you, and all of us need to have skin in the game. He said that years ago. He said, lower income Americans need to have skin in the game. So pay your taxes because you need to have skin in the game. Meanwhile, this guy is a big, fat liar. And I think where we really ought to look is that figure, $750. I can't get that figure out of my head. All day today, I just think to myself, this is what I warned of. I was one of the earliest, as you know, critics against Donald Trump when he was a presumptive nominee for the Republicans. And I said to myself, we need to know where this guy's entanglements are. Who does he owe money to on a foreign, like other countries? Now we know. This is stuff we wanted to know way back then. And Roland, this is going to be ugly. I think today it's hitting the American consciousness that he really is somebody that is just does not deserve respect. When you do not pay your taxes, You've done more than disrespect sort of the social pact we have here. You've committed some fraud. But the problem is that Republicans have been enabling these frauds so long. These high-income Americans, they've been doing these kinds of things, jumping through loopholes, creating shell companies, finding ways to give to their own daughters consulting companies so they can deduct tax or whatever they want to do. Show a law, so they can hang on to more of their money. And I know this sounds really funny coming from me, given that I love capitalism, but this is all about the rich getting richer and our tax code being a complete mess. But moreover, showing us who this man really, really is. And he's a loser who doesn't pay his taxes. And it's time that people in the heartland know.
I remember in 2016, I used this hashtag, we tried to tell you, Avis, and for all these people out here who running their mouth, who was saying Hillary is the same as Donald Trump, oh, we shouldn't support her. Hillary tried to tell folks, but folks didn't want to listen. Let's go back to 2016 and one of those debates. Folks, watch this.
Another example of bait and switch here. For 40 years, everyone running for president has released their tax returns. You can go and see nearly, I think, 39, 40 years of our tax returns, but everyone has done it. We know the IRS has made clear there is no prohibition on releasing it when you're under audit. So you've got to ask yourself, why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Third, we don't know all of his business dealings, but we have been told through investigative reporting that he owes about $650 million to Wall Street and foreign banks. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So if he's paid zero, that means zero for troops, zero for vets, zero for schools or health. And I think probably he's not all that enthusiastic about having the rest of our country see what the real reasons are, because it must be something really important, even terrible, that he's trying to hide. And the financial disclosure statement, they don't give you the tax rate. They don't give you all the details that tax returns would. And it just seems to me that this is something that the American people deserve to see. And I have no reason to believe that he's ever going to release his tax returns, because there's something he's hiding. And we'll guess. We'll keep guessing at what it might be that he's hiding. But I think the question is, were he ever to get near the White House, what would be those conflicts? Who does he owe money to? Well, he owes you the answers to that, and he should provide.
Sound like somebody was right.
Absolutely. And, I've been keeping a running calculation. That must be the 457 millionth time that Hillary was absolutely right about everything that she warned this nation about back in 2016 as it relates to Donald Trump. She hit the nail on the head. And I kind of want to sort of continue along the path that she was going with that last statement that she made. This is a national security threat. To have this man in the White House with the nuclear codes, owing somebody and owing people, entities, countries that we don't even know all of the entanglements that he has, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm sure that may be one of many reasons why he does everything that Papa Putin tells him to do. He's probably one of the creditors. But the fact of the matter is, him knowing that he owes this money and knowing that he's keeping that information from us puts him in a position in which he is incentivized to make money any way he can, hand over fist, because, according to the New York Times, the bill is due in 2022. So if he were to win re-election, he would have to come up with hundreds of millions of dollars in 2 years after this man has been broke for God knows how long. He's driven numerous companies into the ground previously. So what is he willing to sell? Who is he willing to sell out? What is he willing to do in order to not offend those people who he owes money to? I think this might tell us a lot about why, for example, he hadn't said anything about our troops having bounties on their heads. I think this might tell us a lot around why he's going around protecting governments and individuals who murder journalists. I think this might tell us a lot about his behavior outside of the fact that he completely is a psychopath and he cares about nobody but himself. But he also owes money to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And the bottom line is that is a national security threat to this nation each and every day.
Mustafa, conservatives can try to run their mouths all they want to, call it fake news if they want, but the reality is he's been lying. He's not going to release his taxes. And again, if he wants to say it's not true, fine. Release your taxes and let us see what is true.
Trump has been pimping America for decades. And the pimping should have stopped when he came into the White House, but it didn't. It's interesting that Trump said that he would release his taxes before the election, and people waited. And people waited, and they continue to wait. And the reality is, for folks in Appalachia who are getting up every day and going to work just so they can put food on the table, and this man is able to get millions of dollars back in return. For the folks in Detroit who get up every day and work hard just so they can keep the water turned on, but yet he's able to have millions and millions of dollars returned back to him. And for the folks on the Gulf Coast, who are working hard just to pay the mortgage or pay the rent. And for this man who is supposed to lead our country, who is supposed to be, and we all know that he's not, he is supposed to be the example of fairness, the example of equality, the example of leadership. For him not to handle his business and to make sure that he's paying his fair share says a lot about the character that we already know about. And we, as Ava said, we also know a lot of this is tied to the fact that he has gotten money from places that he probably shouldn't have, that he probably will have a number of legal ramifications for once the fullness of where his resources have come from. So the reality is that he shared with folks that poor people pay taxes. He doesn't pay taxes. He's telling you exactly how he sees you. And as Ava said, he also is telling you that you don't have a lot of value in the paradigm that he operates from. I'm not calling the president a pimp. What I am saying is that he has some pimpish ways.
Well, and the other thing is this here is real simple. That is, this is how the rich play the game. This is how they write the tax code. This is how they get over. This is how they force lower class and middle class people to foot the bill so they can grow their riches. That's how they can live off their tax cuts. That's how they can live off their capital gains. That's how, see, that's the game. So when you hear the Jamie Dimons of the world saying, oh, I don't think an Elizabeth Warren wealth tax will work because they don't want to have to pay taxes on anything. That's how they stay rich. They want to finance a lifestyle. That's what they're doing here. Pure and simple. And here's the deal. Not a single Republican has said a word.
Well, Roland, on that point, I have something to say right there because this is really important to differentiate here. My friend Josh Barrow, who's a business columnist with New York Mag, put it really well today in a tweet. He just summed it up real nicely because a number of my liberal friends who are political commentators have been saying Trump is broke as evidence to say, look, this guy is so broke, he can't handle anything. He drives everything into the ground. But the reality is this, and Josh put it best. He said, does a broke guy have a private 757? He said, Trump isn't broke. He's a rich guy with a high income who doesn't pay nearly as much income tax as he should. Now, I'll take it a step and say, yeah, there are tons of those. And that's why Republicans will not criticize. But this is more than just, a rich guy with a high income who doesn't pay as much as he should. This is a guy who's evaded the system, does not believe in his social responsibility, and therefore doesn't believe in the very fabric of this country and what holds us together.
Right. They use the tax code to their benefit and say the hell with everybody else and screw them. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Last night's presidential debate in Cleveland between Donald Trump and Joe Biden was an absolute unmitigated disaster. First and foremost, Chris Wallace could not even control Donald Trump, who kept interrupting people. One analysis showed that Donald Trump interrupted Joe Biden some 76 different times. Biden interrupted Trump about 15 times. Have no idea, folks. Here's a roundup of what happened last night.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community. So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than.
Well, the biggest part of the debate came on the issue when Chris Wallace asked Donald Trump about white supremacists. This was the defining moment of last night's debate.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
to specifically
do it?
Well,
go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white supremacists. Like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing problem.
white supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI, FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
We're
done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
When
moving.
a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term.
After being roundly criticized, even trying to send his surrogates out and White House staffers and campaign staffers to say, oh, no, he did condemn white terrorists. He said this today.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are. I mean, you'll have to give me a definition because I really don't know who they are. I can only say they have to stand down, let law enforcement do their work. Law enforcement will do the work more and more. As people see how bad this radical liberal Democrat movement is and how weak, the law enforcement's going to come back stronger and stronger. But again, I don't know who Proud Boys are, but whoever they are, they have to stand down, let law enforcement do their work. Just stand by. Look, law enforcement will do their work. They're going to stand down. They have to stand down. Everybody. They have to stand, whatever group you're talking about, let law enforcement do the work. Now, Antifa is a real problem because the problem is on the left. And Biden refuses to talk about it. He refuses to issue the words law and order. You saw that last night when he choked up. He can't say the words because he'll lose the rest of the left. So he's got to condemn Antifa. Antifa is a very bad group. Yeah.
Mr. President, let me follow up. White supremacists, they clearly love you and support you. You welcome that.
I want law and order to be a very important part. It's a very important part of my campaign. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is law enforcement the police have to take care. And they should stop defunding the police like they've done in New York, like they've done in New York. I just told you. I've always denounced any form of any of that you have to denounce. But I also, Joe Biden has to say something about Antifa. It's not a philosophy. These are people that hit people over the head with baseball bats. He's got to come out and he's got to be strong and he's got to condemn Antifa. And it's very important that he does it.
I want to see profiles not encourage Georgia Senator Kelly Loeffler.
He has been very clear that there is no place for racism in this country. So, I think we just have to look at his words and his actions and to understand that he has done more to lift up African Americans than any president in recent history.
You want to see a weak-ass black man? Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina.
Do you find that concerning, the president's refusal last night during the debate to condemn white supremacist groups?
I think he misspoke in response to Chris Wallace's comment. He was asking Chris what he wanted to say. I think he misspoke. I think he should correct it. If he doesn't correct it, I guess he didn't misspeak.
I was on social media and you had some black MAGA lovers saying, oh no, the Proud Boys, they're not racist. They're not white supremacists. Watch this.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And
The Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
We will kill you. That's the Proud Boys in a nutshell. We will kill you. We look nice. We seem soft. We have boys in our name. But like Bill the Butcher and the Bowery Boys, we will assassinate you. Now, part of the reason I agree to do the talk is because I'm allowed to bring all my guys. And we can fight our way in and fight our way out. Beating the shit out of these people. I think it's our job to do it. And the cops just turn a blind eye. If you're wearing a MAGA hat, as Sal is right now, Sal's in the studio, folks.
Oh my God, it's Sal Cipolla. Where are you from?
On here.
Wow, you came a long way.
If you're wearing a MAGA hat and some guy with a slightly punk demeanor comes up to you and says, hey, are you Sal or are you pro-Trump? Choke him. Trust your instincts. Don't listen to what he has to say. Choke him. If I do a video where I say, how about we start throwing bricks? Is that legal? You can't call for violence on a specific person, but can you say they're throwing bricks? We should throw bricks. Can you call for violence generally? Because I am. Fighting solves everything. We need more violence from the Trump people, Trump supporters. Choke a motherfucker, choke a bitch, choke a tranny. Get your fingers around the windpipe. I want violence. I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough. Get a fucking gun. Get ready to blow someone's fucking head off. I've even killed people in my dreams. That's how awesome my gun is. Get in trouble, get arrested, get fired. Let's all get in this together. They can't kill us all.
Yeah, but I got green tips, man. Those go through at least 3 bodies.
Oh, beautiful. Plop. I love the way he falls on his ass. They said, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to fucking go. And I punched him in the face. And then Coulter emailed me later and she goes, conservatives never punched anyone in the face. Finally, things are turning around. And then Malsberg goes, you're not advocating violence, are you? And I go, I absolutely am. It's a wonderful, effective thing. This is a fucking war.
The Joe Biden campaign did not wait to drop this ad.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Let's go right to our panel. A. Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee. Robert Patillo, he's executive director for the Rainbow Push Coalition Peachtree Street Project. Lauren Victoria Burke writes for NNPA. Monique Presley, legal analyst, political commentator. I want to start with you, Lauren. Absolute disgusting what we saw last night from Donald Trump. The Presidential Debate Commission, they've already announced changes. At the next the moderators now will be able to cut the microphone of anyone who goes over their allotted time and interrupting someone else. Last night was all about Donald Trump wanting to unleash chaos.
Right, and so I guess there's going to be a lot of cutting of the microphone. Obviously, what we saw last night was a lot of fear and insecurity coming from Donald Trump, who I think at this point knows he's going to lose. I really think that to a large extent, we need to really think hard about what happens from November 4 to January 20. That was a desperate performance from somebody who knows that they're about to lose an election and be rolled out of office. Donald Trump, as we all know, barely got into office. He lost the popular vote. He's well aware of that. When you see him make these desperate calls to his supporters to show up at the polls, this obviously embarrassing, though not surprising, I misspoke on white supremacy, just like he misspoke in 2016, not being able to disavow David Duke. At this point in this, it's pretty obvious that people like Tim Scott, some of these other Republicans who, at this point, this is willfully ignoring a white supremacist in the White House and willfully being on the wrong side of that, one would think, easy to be on issue. I mean, the fact that Tim Scott today can't disavow what the president did last night is just unbelievable and incredible. You either agree with the president or you just don't understand how stupid you look at this point, defending somebody that is an out and out racist in front of the entire nation, and you don't get that. You don't pick up on the fact that the train is leaving the station. First of all, it should have been picked up on years ago. None of what happened last night was new. None of what happened last night was surprising. But for people to come out today after watching that last night and still be defending this president, I've sort of moved on to the point where I feel like I'm beyond Donald Trump. Because to some extent, I've been watching Donald Trump, unfortunately, my entire life because I grew up in New York. So I was
Gotcha.
used to seeing Donald Trump in the background all the time. But now I'm to the point of asking, what are these people doing in the Republican Party supporting this person at this point? What can you say?
This is real simple. This is real simple, Robert. Power. This is power.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. But Donald Trump played that debate like a fiddle last night. He was able to bait the host. He was able to bait Joe Biden. He was able to obfuscate. He was able to filibuster to the point that we aren't talking about the fact that we have a president who was impeached earlier this year, and we did not mention it during the debate. We find out that this president is $500 million in debt to unknown individuals around the world. We barely talked about it at the debate. The fact that he has not paid taxes in a decade, and when he did pay taxes, paid about $700. That did not get the proper vetting during the debate. President Trump knew he could not win on the facts. He cannot win a balls and strikes game, so he decided to do guerrilla warfare. Don't let your opponent get a straight answer in. Don't let the moderator ask a question. Make sure that you play the clock. Run out the clock until you get to the next topic. Then you slide in your culture war stuff. You slide in your conspiracy theories. You're talking about Hunter Biden. You're talking about random internet conspiracies. You're seeding the media beforehand by saying Joe Biden is on a performance-enhancing drugs, and he had plastic surgery, that he has an earpiece in to feed him answers. There's a teleprompter there that's going to allow him to read off the answers. President Trump figured out how to play the media years ago, and he is still playing them, and that's why we're not talking about any substantive issues from last night. That's why we're simply caught on all the distractions.
No, we are talking about substantive issues because the reality, Monique, his statements regarding not wanting to condemn white supremacists. Also, last night, Joe Biden, when we talked about Antifa, Trump wants, he got to condemn Antifa. Biden last night, Monique, quoted the FBI director, Christopher Wray, who said Antifa is not an organization, it's an ideology. And then Trump's like, I disagree with that. The reality is this here. Biden, I thought the strongest moments when he finally said, the hell with Chris Wallace, the hell with Donald Trump, I'm going to look directly at the camera and talk to the American people. I do believe last night we had substance, and the substance is you've got a crazy, deranged crank who was even more crazy than we used to, and you saw calm, focused, clear Biden compared to Trump. That contrast has shown up in various polls on who won last night and how this is going to solidify, I believe, this race for Joe Biden. Monique.
I believe that that is true, that you did see a leader and you did see other than leader. I don't know, though obviously there was a winner for last night, whether that tilted the few, like 2, 3, 5 undecided voters in the United States of America right now or not. I agree with what the last panelist said, that this was a calculated approach by Team Trump, because they did prep, though they lied and said they barely prepped. He said his prep is being president. No, he had sessions. And what they figured out is that there's no way that he could win because he doesn't have enough on substance. He doesn't have a record that would prop him up. He doesn't have anything convincing to say about the pandemic or the economy or jobs. He's lost on all of those issues, and he doesn't have a command of the information. So instead, disrupt, disrupt, disrupt. And that is a very old debating tactic, which I'm sure Scott's on the panel. He would agree with me. If you can't do anything else, just throw the whole thing over and run down the clock. And that's what his team obviously did. They just let him go. Obviously, you could see he wasn't sedated. He wasn't on any of the meds he's normally on. He was out there being his rambunctious self. He stuck to every one of his talking points, not the points that the team gave him, not the points that are in the briefing books, but the talking points that are in his head. He was very consistent about those. I mean, he brought up all of his oldies and he had some new goodies, and he did what Trump does. Now, obviously, that's not what we want in a president. I couldn't hear you, Roland.
But here's the deal. I got to pull Scott in here, because Scott, here's the deal. You saw all that take place, but the bottom line is this here. It's not a question of the undecideds. It's also, how do you drive your side out? The Biden-Harris team raised $3.8 million between the 10 p.m. and the 11 p.m. hour last night. That is about intensity. This race is going to come down to which side is more intense when it comes to the polls. And I think last night it further pissed off Biden supporters.
Yeah, I think so also. And Robert, I think him being just outrageous, if you will. And I think the plan worked against him. We cannot forget that. But I tell you, folks, last night I saw desperation, and I saw a man that was unhinged in the middle of a political campaign that he's losing. And I kept thinking to myself, we got to get ready for November 3rd and afterwards, because this is a foreshadowing of what we're going to see. He didn't just not denounce the Proud Boys or white supremacists. He dissected it. He never denounced them. What he said was, stand back, stand down, as if he was their commander-in-chief. Listen to me, Roland. And then that stand by and stand down was almost, well, let the police handle the violence, but that has nothing to do with their white supremacist philosophy. And he's going to come back to them after November 3rd when he loses, whether it's by a wide margin or not, and he is going to activate his supporters, the Ku Klux Klan, the Proud Boys, whatever you call them. And by the way, why do you need a name to denounce white supremacy? Are there some that you would not denounce, but others you would denounce? Well, that makes absolutely no sense.
And here's the deal. You did have substance last night because you did hear Joe Biden hit him on the issue of coronavirus. I understand that. I understand that. But I understand that. My point is this here. You did have Biden talk about coronavirus. You did hear him talk about the economy. You did hear him talk about those issues there. And again, I think what you're now dealing with, sure, you got Mr. Chaos and want to throw it out there. I believe the tactics, even Joe Biden, exasperated, shaking his head, sitting here, will flash a smile. But when he finally said, man, just shut up. And so it was clear. It was clear what he was doing. But this, again, Lauren, this election comes down to intensity. And that is this here. If by seeing this, and if it happens in the second debate and the third debate, it reinforces we are so sick of this dude. We have got to go vote. I think that, Lauren, is how the debate psychologically impacts the voting electorate.
Roland, I think that your point is really well taken, but the problem I'm having is that I felt like watching Biden, I still have this sense of the Democrats bringing a knife to the gunfight, okay? You got to come out with a little bit more energy than what I saw from Joe Biden last night. And I think it was Robert's point, interruption is a strategy. Name calling is a strategy. Narrative change is a strategy. Breaking another person's train of thought is a strategy. Lying is a strategy. Trump employed all of that last night on Biden, quite frankly, pretty well, because Biden, for some reason, got into it where he was stopped talking. He wouldn't, frankly, I think Joe Biden was great, just like you just said, Roland, when he punched him in the mouth. I did not like the staring at the moderator. I think that Biden should have stared right at Trump and said what he was saying. I think that has a lot of power on camera.
But Monique, one second. But Monique, I thought about last night as I watched that, and then I saw the analysis. I saw people. Here's the deal. I think, Monique, there were a lot of people who wanted Joe Biden to go toe-to-toe, to want him to fight. No. And you know what I thought about? I thought about a conversation you and I had when you went on Tucker Carlson. And when I said, he's going to expect you to come in hot. And I said, Monique, don't come in hot. You lower it. Keep an even tone voice. And then at a certain point, start laughing at him. That's what Biden did. And it allowed for people to say, who's the crazy dude? That's the calm one. That's the one who's keeping it together. That's the one who's not rude and disrespectful. That's the deal. Biden can't fall into, you can't go toe-to-toe with crazy because crazy has no limit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you obviously were right when you gave me that advice. And when I was on last night on IG Live, I was just kind of giving some analysis, and I hearkened back kind of to my old days at Howard Law School when I was on trial team and training, and what we were told or erasers were thrown at us was, you're speaking to the judge and you're speaking to the jury. You're not speaking to your opposing counsel because you are not debating them. You are bringing a message forward. So Biden was sticking to very good debate prep when he was looking dead at the audience and when he was addressing his comments to the moderator. He did the couple of times, "Will you shut up, man?" That was great. Those were timed. Those were fine. But the other important thing that I want the people who are listening to understand is what our president of the United States displayed last night. There is no black man or woman in America who could get away with that in a court of law. There is no white woman at the head of leadership in America who could get away with that. You doubt me? Think 2016 when Hillary Clinton probably wanted to say, "Will you shut up, man?" and some more stuff. But she knew she was diving through sexism and misogyny landmines that were the size of giants. So if any black man had tried to do half of that and lose decorum like that, lose respect, he would have gotten stepped back. He'd be in an orange jumpsuit in 30 seconds. There's no orange jumpsuit for Trump yet, and that's why he's fighting the way he's fighting, because he knows if he doesn't win, he's going to jail.
But Scott, here's the deal, though. Again, what I need people to understand, when you examine this whole deal here, Biden was by no far perfect. Let me be real clear, okay? But there were clear moments where Biden did focus on policy, and one area where Trump could not wriggle out, it was health care, which is the number one issue among voters. And when Trump could not even state, "I got a health care plan." He's tried the whole, "I'm swinging and throwing." Dude, you still have no plan.
That's right. That's right. And so another tactic we use in the courtroom when we have a recalcitrant witness is your cross-examination. You have short, tight questions. You demand short, tight answers. And if the witness doesn't have any, you just continue to pepper them. And on health care, on his COVID response, too, you may be talking about both. Biden was really tight and sharp on it. He said what he had to say. He spoke the truth. And all that Trump could murmur or mumble through were I'm not trying to get rid of Obamacare. We did more than any other country. You did more than any other country to bring in 20% of all the cases, if you will, and 200,000 people are dead and counting. And so he was really good and effective there. But remember, whether he looked at the camera or looked at away, Biden questions and statements were tight and right on healthcare and COVID. You're right. It was the most effective part for Biden, and that's why it was most effective against Trump and him being a complete ass. I got to tell you, I don't see any upside.
Well, of course. Here's the deal, Robert. Next debate, obviously, you got the rule changes. But if I'm Biden and I go back and watch that tape, after the moderator asks a question, stop looking at the moderator, the hell with him, and do what he did. When he leaned in and went right to the camera, I'm watching this and I'm saying, what he's saying is, damn, all of this other nonsense, I'm talking to you. That, Robert, has to be duplicated and replicated over and over and over again in the next two debates. Go ahead.
I agree with you, and I think that was probably the part that Trump probably did the best at, which was being that disruptive force. That he was able to interject. He was able to throw Biden off of his talking points. Whenever Biden is jumping down into the mud at the trailer park with Donald Trump is winning. That is his territory. He's a reality TV star. He might as well have been a Housewives reunion with Andy Cohen moderating instead of Chris Wallace. So when Biden would slip and say you're racist, when Biden would slip and say you're the worst president ever, when Biden would slip and say shut up, man, you're now falling down and dropping down into that trailer park with Donald Trump, and that's where he thrives at. So I think it has to be, now that you've seen it once, it's almost like that Houston Rockets small ball offense. The first time a team saw it, they didn't know what to do when you had a 6'5" dude shooting threes at center. But then when they got to the playoffs, you had a couple games to prepare for it, you're able to shut it down, and that's what the Rockets go home every year. So I think it's important for Joe Biden to take, now that he's seen it one time.
Robert, to get your ass whooped, bringing up my Rockets now. Don't get your ass whooped.
It was appropriate.
I mean, ain't like your Hawks have done any damn thing, but go ahead.
Or the Falcons, for that
whole
matter.
point is learning how to adapt and adjust on the fly. Don't think this is not a debate from the 1970s going by the Roberts rules of order. Maybe he needs to binge watch E! and a couple reality shows for maybe a week or two to get back into it, but he's going to have to come out stronger. Otherwise, Trump will dominate the news cycle instead of the actual winner of the debate.
None of those tactics.
But you know what, though? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal, though. Here's the deal, though. But here's the deal, though. Also talk about dominating the news cycle. Here's what he's dominating: white supremacists, Proud Boys, and the Proud Boys are actually making it worse for him because you know what? They're embracing it, and so he now has to deal with that. And his goal was to appeal to suburban white women. Trying to be buddy with the Proud Boys is not. Hold up. I'm gonna go Lauren and Monique first. Lauren, it ain't the smartest strategy thinking you're gonna appeal to them suburban white women who he's losing in droves by pumping up the Proud Boys.
Yeah, that was an unforced error, obviously, from him running his mouth and being stupid and racist, but that's who he is. And he So that's what happened. I mean, I do think, though, that Biden has to figure out a way not to go down the rabbit hole when he gets interrupted. What Trump does when he interrupts is that he changes the narrative, he changes the course of the discussion, and Biden follows him. And I'm like, what are you following him for? Like, talk about what you want to talk about, just like Trump talks about what
You're
Trump
right.
wants to talk about. So that's a...
You're right. No, you're 100% right. And Monique, the strategy, this is the strategy. You stand there, and when he starts yapping, this is what Biden does. Are you done? Are you going to still be so arrogant, interrupt? See, here's my deal. You don't look at him, and you go, I'm going to finish my point when you stop being a blabbermouth. You, whatever you like, but you never, because here's the deal. When you look at him, he's now got your eyes locked. That's why Trump kept looking at him. What you do is you give his ass a wall. You let him, you don't even look that way. You don't even look down. Let me know when you done sitting here blabbering and not answering a question. Still not answering a question. And here's the deal. Or what you do, Monique, you keep talking. I know it's disruptive, but you don't even accept the bite. You keep talking, and then the moderator says the two of you can't talk. We'll tell him to shut up. You keep going.
Right.
I think that we're kind of dealing in extremes, and what Vice President Biden gave us last night and needs to continue giving us is a balance in the fight. Because, yes, you need to stay on point. You need to be looking to your real target audience, which is the American people. But also every now and then you got to punch them in the face. Because you're dealing with a madman who's on the stage next to you. And so I think that has to happen, too. That's not what you constantly do. You don't punch. But I believe that he has to continue to do both. Because you know why? Vice President Biden, when he was up there, he was saying things that millions of Americans have wanted for 4 years to say to this president. And
such
it
as,
was
will
the
you
first
shut up?
Opportunity. Yes. And so I'm saying those are not errors, unforced or otherwise. Biden was being Biden, and I'm like, Uncle Joe, I know you're listening to your debate prep, and I appreciate that, but every now and then he needs to let one rip and cut that fool down to size, because that gained him people who were like, yeah, it's not just Trump who calls us spade and a thing and a fool. We're about to get a new president who is going to say, hey, man, shut up. You're talking crazy. You don't pay taxes. You're a criminal. Go somewhere. So we need both. We need both.
And hold on, real quick. Hold on. Wait, 20 seconds. Robert, 20 seconds. Scott, go.
2 points. One, when Trump is appealing to white supremacists, you're operating under the assumption that the majority of America is not compelled by a message of white supremacy. America is built on white supremacy. The founding documents of this nation are white supremacy. The soil itself is based upon white supremacy. So when Donald Trump makes an appeal to it, don't be surprised when that goes over well. And secondarily, we've seen what happened in 2016 when Marco Rubio tried to jump down into the trailer park mud pit with Donald Trump. He lost. When Jeb Bush went to a trailer park, he lost. Ted Cruz went to a trailer park. He lost. Donald Trump is the trailer park champion, so you cannot beat him at his own game. You have to beat him on policy.
Yeah, but I don't think Biden's trying to do that. I don't think he was trying to do that last night. He was exasperated like the rest of the audience when he said, man, just shut up. When he said you were the worst president. Every time he insulted Trump, it was in response. It was a counterpunch, if you will. And those counterpunches hit home because it's what the audience was thinking and the voters have been thinking for the last 4 years. You were the worst president. You're lying. You caused COVID. All of those were counter punches, and I think he played it just right. He didn't get down in the garbage stall. And if there is a second debate or if he participates, because we haven't talked about that, regardless of the rule change, I don't think he's going to get down in the garbage land with him ever.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks at Seek.com, of course, they black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel. They have a couple of great products that you can actually get. This is their VR headset. This headset, folks, allows for you to actually take your cell phone, pop it right into here, close it up, and then you can actually watch the VR content, the virtual reality content on Seek.com right there through your phone. Actually, it's pretty cool. You can also look at 360-degree video from other websites as well, and it puts you literally right there where the video was shot. And so they have this particular headset right here. They also have their 360-degree 4D headphones. And so these headphones right here, which are Bluetooth. Also, they have the headset, which you use for when you, if you're for all you gamers out there. And then, of course, it has this amazing sound, really, which actually covers around. Typically, you just have the headphones just right here, but this actually has a sound that goes all around your head. I love these headphones. Love listening to music with them and watching videos as well. And so, all you got to do, folks, is go to Seek.com, CEEK.com. Use the promo code RMVIP 2020. That's RMVIP 2020 to actually try these out. And so that's what we want you to do. All right, folks. So again, go to Seek.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron has 2 days until noon Friday to give the court the actual audio recordings of the grand jury proceedings, which led to one officer facing charges in the death of Breonna Taylor. Now, a grand jury member was the one who filed a petition with the court saying it should be released because they were frankly angry after hearing some of the answers of Daniel Cameron. Bottom line, Robert, I can't recall ever seeing a grand juror, which is grand jury is secret, come out and say, essentially, his ass lying. And so y'all need to know what really happened and his ass lying. So release the damn recordings. And so they're giving Cameron's office 2 days because they say they got to redact some witnesses' names because they said that could affect the federal investigation. Robert.
You know, this is the first for me also. This shooting from the beginning reminded me of Kenneth Walker in Columbus, Georgia, back in 2004. A similar shooting incident where the grand jury returned a no bail on the indictment despite clear evidence of a police murder. And I think that this is an unprecedented step, and hopefully sets the bar for what happens going forward. There has to be transparency. Far too long, prosecutors have been able to hide behind the grand jury to do their dirty work for when they don't want to indict a police officer. We all know that the prosecutor can indict anybody that he feels like during the grand jury process. The only time they don't get an indictment is when they don't want to indict somebody. So this is a very important step for us to watch, and we need to find out whether or not we can trust the prosecutors in this case. And this is even more of a reason that we have to have a Department of Justice that is interested in actual civil rights prosecutions, and not what Jeff Sessions and Bob Barr have been using for over the last 4 years.
So this guy again is a huge case. Again, Cameron wanted a week. The judge said, nope, you got till Friday, noon on Friday, to turn over those grand jury recordings.
Yeah. So what do we look for when he turns over the recordings? The first thing you look for is you confirm that this was not an investigative grand jury, whereby the grand jury did the investigation with the help of the AG, that the AG did this investigation and then presented what he wanted to present and did not present what he did not want to present because he didn't believe he had a legal basis for it. I think that's going to be the latter. Secondly, what charges did he present? He probably just presented the charges where they brought back an indictment. What you would like for him to present is a number of charges, a number of police officers, and let them come back with a no true bill. That's really the open and transparent way of doing this, including felony murder. And I keep talking about felony murder on social media and some of the other shows I do, because if there was a felony committed and someone was killed in the commission of that felony, whether the bullet of Hankinson killed Breonna Taylor or not, a felony has still been committed. Now, I'm not as familiar with Kentucky law as I am with D.C., New York, or Illinois, but I will tell you this, it's got to at least be considered. And so you're looking not for what he put in, you're looking for what he did not present to the grand jury, and then you make your case to impanel another one that investigates and either votes a no true bill or votes a true bill so that it's transparent and the public feels that this was fair analysis and review by the grand jury and the criminal justice system.
Got it. Lauren, the thing here is this here. Now, by this grand juror's decision, he's also forced Cameron to come out and say he did not even present the possibility of the grand jury pursuing murder charges.
That's right.
Daniel Cameron lied when he went before the cameras, and now he is being forced to be honest with the public about what he did as a special prosecutor.
Yeah.
The whole thing has the look of what exactly he thought it was going to be when he had that stupid-ass press conference. It's going to blow up in his face. And it's going to blow up in his face because everybody's going to hear exactly what happened in there, and it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the opposite of what it should have been, which is exactly what everybody suspected when he had that press conference. I mean, this is a ridiculous crime. I know we're about to talk about Eric Garner. That was another ridiculous crime. This woman is in her home at 1 a.m. They've got the wrong warrant. We can't even establish whether or not they did announce, although all the cop friends that I had said, even if somebody did announce, if you break through my door at 1 a.m., I'm reaching for my gun either way.
According to the grand jury, here's the deal. According to Cameron, one witness said they heard the cops say that, but that person said it on their third try. The first 2 times they didn't say that. 11 other witnesses said we heard nothing, and so it was sort of like they were waiting, trying to get somebody to say what they wanted them to say. Finish your point, please.
But they didn't put any of those others in the grand jury either.
The outrageousness.
Lauren, finish your point.
This outrageousness, the outrageousness of this particular moment in police brutality is off the cliff. Is off the cliff. It's you're in your own home in the middle of the night, and somebody's breaking through the door, and of course somebody who has a gun inside is going to reach for it and try to defend themselves. Right. And they end up killing. They end up killing the person that doesn't even have the firearm. That's the other thing that nobody talks about.
But here's the deal. But here's the deal, Scott. We also, by getting the recordings, we also know the ballistics report didn't match. And so the bottom line is this here. Yeah. By this grand juror doing this, it is putting the pressure on Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron to come clean. And he has already been exposed as a liar. And we're about to find out some more stuff. 30 seconds. Scott, go.
You're absolutely right, because here the AG made choices and decisions on what to put in the grand jury and what didn't. Why not put everything in the grand jury and let them decide? And what Lauren is really talking about is centuries old, the Castle Doctrine. I have a right to defend my home versus the police having a right to kick it in whether they announce or not. It's just a tragic errors, factual errors here. But what about our Castle Right doctrine, or the rights that Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend had? Those are being completely ignored here as part of this investigation.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks at Seek.com, of course, they black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel. They have a couple of great products that you can actually get. This is their VR headset. This headset, folks, allows for you to actually take your cell phone, pop it right into here, close it up, and then you can actually watch the VR content, the virtual reality content on Seek.com right there through your phone. Actually, it's pretty cool. You can also look at 360-degree video from other websites as well, and it puts you literally right there where the video was shot. And so they have this particular headset right here. They also have their 360-degree 4D headphones. And so these headphones right here, which are Bluetooth. Also, they have the headset, which you use for when you, if you're for all you gamers out there. And then, of course, it has this amazing sound, really, which actually covers around. Typically, you just have the headphones just right here, but this actually has a sound that goes all around your head. I love these headphones. Love listening to music with them and watching videos as well. And so, all you got to do, folks, is go to Seek.com, CEEK.com. Use the promo code RMVIP 2020. That's RMVIP 2020 to actually try these out. And so that's what we want you to do. All right, folks. So again, go to Seek.com.